You've begun to realise now, haven't you, that something has shifted. That the way you used to react, the way you used to feel, it's already dissolving, fading. Like a dream you once believed was real, until you woke up. Because people will say things, won't they? They'll assume, they'll judge. They'll project their fears, their limitations, their insecurities onto you. But what happens when you see it for what it really is? Not truth, not reality, just words, just noise, just echoes of a mind that's never questioned itself. And when they say you're wrong, you simply breathe, because what does that even mean? Compared to what? By whose standard? And what if that belief was never yours to begin with? And when they say you can't do that, you smile, because isn't it fascinating how people declare what's possible and impossible, never realising their words, they're only a reflection of their own limits. And when they say you're not enough, you watch, because whose voice is that really? And what happens when they realise that it was never about you, but about them? And something begins to shift, doesn't it? Because when they try to pull you into their storm, you remain still. When they try to shake you, you remain grounded. And while they get lost in their emotions, you rise above them. Because the more they push, the more they reveal their own weakness. And the more you hold, the more powerful you become. And have you noticed? The strongest force in the world, it's not the one that fights, it's the one that remains calm. The mountain doesn't argue with the wind. The river doesn't debate the stone. The fire doesn't justify itself to the darkness. And you don't need to explain yourself to anyone, because there's nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to fight for. And that changes everything, doesn't it? Because the moment you stop reacting, you become the one in control. People expect you to argue. They expect you to defend. They expect you to engage on their level. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you simply ask, what makes you so sure? What if that wasn't true? Who told you that? And just like that, you pull the rug out from under their reality. Because belief is fragile, isn't it? And it only takes one question to crack it, one doubt to unravel it. And when they realise that their certainty was never real, that their judgments were never about you, that their opinions were just habits, just patterns, just programming they never questioned, that is when the shift happens. That's when the walls crumble. And you don't even have to try, because you're not here to fight. You're here to reveal. You're here to watch as their mind opens, as their assumptions collapse, as they begin to see what they could never see before. And isn't it fascinating how the less you try, the more power you have? How the quieter you become, the more they listen. How the moment you stop proving yourself, the world starts proving itself to you. And you feel that now, as you begin to notice that growing sense of certainty deep inside. You realise this isn't something you do. This is something you are. And I wonder, what do you notice first? Because as you listen now, as you feel these words sinking in, something begins to shift, doesn't it? Because there was a time, wasn't there? A time when you believed what they said, when their words had power over you, when their judgments seemed real. But was it ever real? Or was it just a reflection, a projection, a shadow they cast, hoping you'd mistake it for your own? Because you've seen it, haven't you? How people react not to you, but to the version of you that they've created in their mind. How their opinions, they're just echoes of old programming. Beliefs they never questioned. Thoughts they never challenged. And isn't that fascinating? Because when someone attacks, when someone argues, when someone tries to tear you down, you don't have to play their game. Because what happens when you just watch? Not engage, not fight. Just observe, just listen. And when they say you're wrong, you simply ask, according to who? Compared to what? And what would happen if that wasn't true? Then suddenly something happens. Because a belief it's only as strong as the questions it can survive. And have you noticed how quickly certainty crumbles under the weight of the right question? How easily conviction turns to doubt when you hold up a mirror? How the ones who shout the loudest, they're often the ones who've never questioned themselves. And isn't that powerful? Because you've already started to realise that control doesn't come from forcing, it comes from holding. That power isn't in proving, it's in remaining. That influence isn't in reacting, it's in directing. And the more they try to shake you, the more still you become. The more they push, the more they reveal their own imbalance. The more they try to pull you into their storm, the more you stand, like the eye in the centre, calm, untouched, unshaken. And in that stillness something happens. They begin to question themselves. They start to hesitate. They feel the ground beneath them shift because you're no longer playing by their rules. And isn't that freeing? Because who set the rules in the first place? And what happens when you realise you never had to follow them at all? And now, when they say you're not enough, you smile because you know something they don't. When they say you can't do that, you breathe because you've decided otherwise. When they say you should be more like this or less like that, you pause because isn't it funny how people who don't even understand themselves, they always seem to know exactly who you should be. And something clicks because their words, their judgments, their assumptions, none of it matters. Not because it isn't there, but because it was never about you in the first place. And you know now, don't you? The ones who ask the questions control the conversation. The ones who hold the frame control the meaning. The ones who see through the illusion, they can never be trapped by it again. And as you feel that realization settle in now, I wonder, what will you notice first?